Hello, my name is Dan. Today we're going to be installing Windows 7 in a virtual machine using VirtualBox. You need two things. First, obviously, VirtualBox installed onto the host system. And second, you need source media for the operating system you're installing. It could be a DVD, CD, or in this case we're using a disk image file, just because it's quicker. To add a new machine, click on New up at the top, and it'll come up with this new virtual machine wizard. Let's go through this. What do you want to name this virtual machine? Well, we're installing 64-bit Windows 7. So let's just name it Windows 7 x64. VirtualBox should automatically pick it up, but if it doesn't, you'd be able to choose your operating system and your version via the drop-down boxes. How much memory do we want to allocate to this virtual machine? Well, if we assign too much, there's going to be not enough left for the host machine to function, and too little, the virtual machine is going to run terribly. This one should run fine on 2 gigs of RAM. Virtual hard disk creation. This is going to create a file somewhere on your system that the virtual machine is going to be installed into. We use VirtualBox disk image file. Now, dynamically allocated versus fixed size. Well, fixed size, if you want to install the virtual machine onto a 200 gig hard drive, well, it's going to create a 200 gig file. Dynamically allocated, you can still install it onto 200 gig drive, but it'll stay small and it'll increase in size up to the 200 gig point as you install more things on the virtual machine. Since we said 200, now let's do 100. So we want to set the size of the virtual machine's hard drive. We'll just do 104 gigs. And create. Create. Alright, now we want to change a few things in the settings before we start it up. So we're going to click on the settings bar. And here we go. Most of these options are fine. I just like to change a couple things. You don't have to do this, but I take floppy down. We're going to be installing from a CD-ROM image. And the IDE controller is where this image is going to be located. Up at the top right, you'll see a icon that looks like a CD, and this is what we're going to apply to this IDE controller. Now you can use the host drives. If you have a CD-ROM drive and you have, let's say, a Windows 7 DVD, you would install it into your F drive and this will pick it up. But in this case, we're using a disk image file, so we're going to choose a virtual disk DVD disk file. It's on the desktop, and here it is. We'll open that up, and now that is inserted into the virtualized CD-ROM. Shared folders. I like having a drive where I can drag and drop files in between the host system and the guest. I will assign the desktop as the shared folder. Up at the top right, you'll see a folder with a plus icon, and this is to add the folder. I'm going to do Other, and in what directory do I want to share? I'm going to do my desktop. Let's have this auto-mounted. And I hit OK, and now that's added. Now, once we exit out of the configuration screen, we're going to go ahead and start this Windows 7 virtual machine. Now it's loading from the CD-ROM ISO file here. If you've ever installed Windows 7 before, it's an identical process. Install now. We're going to have to go through the custom setup because we're not upgrading as soon as that pops up. Well, make sure you read all this, of course, word for word. Custom. And see here, this is the 104 gigabyte drive that we allocated earlier. That's what we're installing to. We're going to hit next. Now it's going to copy the files over and install Windows. Alright, so now Windows has finished extracting all of its files and it's rebooted a couple times. Now we're into the final configuration. Exact identical way as installing it onto on a regular system. This is obviously on my home network. Alright, now the Windows has finished loading in. If you can notice, it doesn't scale with the desktop. So we need to install the VirtualBox drivers. We go up to Devices at the top, install Guest Additions, and wait for it to pop up. Here we go. Just run. And you go through these steps. Next. If you want to install Direct3D support, you have to restart the virtual machine and boot it into safe mode. You can do that by pressing F8 as it's booting up. Now we're installing, and it's going to have us reboot at the end. Alright, now that we've rebooted after we've installed the guest additions, you can now see that the desktop will scale as I move the window. And that's it. Windows 7 is now installed as a virtual machine. You can do whatever you want with it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And I hope you learned something. Thanks a lot.